Chapter 1. The Night the Stars Blinked. The North Pole was a place of magic, especially on Christmas Eve. Inside the sprawling, snow-covered workshop, elves hustled and bustled, their tiny hands assembling toys, packing gifts, and double-checking Santa's infamous naughty and nice list. Tinker, Santa's most inventive elf, darted through the chaos with a clipboard in hand, directing teams like a maestro conducting an orchestra. Santa himself stood in the sleigh hangar, stroking his snowy beard as he inspected his gleaming red sleigh. "Good work, Tinker," he called out, his voice booming over the bustling noise. "This sleigh looks as good as new after last year's storm." Rudolph and the other reindeer pawed at the ice beneath their hooves, eager to take to the skies. Outside, the aurora borealis shimmered in vivid greens and purples, casting a surreal glow over the icy landscape. Everything was going according to plan, or so it seemed. Then, the stars blinked. It wasn't the normal twinkle of starlight. This was something else entirely, an unnatural, rhythmic dimming that immediately caught Santa's eye. "Tinker," he said, his jovial tone replaced by one of concern, "what do you make of that?" Tinker adjusted his goggles and peered up at the sky. The stars seemed to pulse, and then, without warning, the aurora was swallowed by a wave of darkness. An eerie silence fell over the workshop as a massive shadow descended, blotting out the moon. The shadow solidified into a vast, saucer-shaped spaceship, its surface gleaming like liquid metal. Lights danced along its edges, casting beams of green and blue over the snow. The elves stopped their work, their tools clattering to the floor as they stared in awe and terror. The ship hovered silently for a moment before a section of its hull split open, revealing a brilliant white light. A figure emerged, descending slowly as if walking on air. The being was tall and imposing, with a sleek, silvery suit that shimmered in the dim light. Its head was elongated, with glowing, pupil-less eyes and a mouth that curved in an expressionless line. "I am Condor, leader of the Xantherian collective," the alien announced, its voice reverberating unnaturally, as though coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "We come not to harm but to enlighten." Santa stepped forward, his boots crunching on the snow. Despite the size difference between him and the alien, he exuded calm authority. "Well, Condor, you've certainly chosen an interesting night to visit. What brings you to the North Pole?" Condor tilted his head slightly, observing Santa with a cold, analytical gaze. "You are known across the galaxy as a figure of great power, controlling the emotions and behavior of an entire planet's younglings. We have come to end this system of manipulation." Santa blinked. "Manipulation? You've got it all wrong. Christmas is about spreading joy and kindness, not control." Condor's glowing eyes narrowed. "Your primitive customs are deception. You provide material objects to ensure compliance. We cannot allow this to continue. The Xantherian collective will assume control of your operations." Before Santa could respond, a low hum filled the air. The elves gasped as beams of light shot out from the spaceship, scanning the workshop and sleigh. Condor turned back to Santa, his voice icy. "Surrender your operations peacefully, or we will take them by force." Santa's eyes hardened. "Christmas isn't something you can take. It's a feeling, a belief, something no alien technology can never understand." Condor's lips twitched in what might have been a smirk. "We shall see." The alien raised a hand, and with a flash of light, the workshop's power systems flickered and died. The hum of machinery fell silent, leaving only the whistling Arctic wind. The elves huddled together, looking to Santa for guidance. Santa turned to Tinker, his voice low but resolute. "Get the backup generators online. Prepare the sleigh for an emergency launch. And spread the word. Christmas isn't over yet." As Condor returned to his ship, the alien's ultimatum hung heavy in the frozen air. The battle for Christmas had begun. Chapter 2. A Frosty First Contact. Inside the now eerily silent workshop, the elves scrambled to restore order. The once bright halls were lit only by the flickering glow of lanterns. The air was thick with tension as Santa convened a meeting in the sleigh hangar. His chief elves, Tinker, Jingle, and Spark, gathered around him, their faces pale but determined. Tinker adjusted his goggles, frustration etched across his face. "They've fried half our systems, Mr. Santa. The generators will take hours to fully reboot, and the sleigh's main propulsion is offline. We're sitting ducks." Santa frowned, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "We don't have hours. Christmas Eve waits for no one." "What about the backup sleigh?" Jingle, the logistics expert, shook her head. "The backups are fine for short trips, but they can't carry the full payload for the entire world. Even if they could, we need to get the reindeer energized, and Condor's ship is monitoring us. They'll see anything we try." The sound of metallic footsteps echoed through the hangar. Everyone turned to see a group of alien drones entering, their sleek bodies glinting like liquid silver. They marched with precision, scanning every corner of the workshop. At their center was Condor, his tall, slender form as commanding as ever. Santa stepped forward, squaring his broad shoulders. "Condor, I don't know what you think you're accomplishing here, but Christmas isn't something you can control." Condor's glowing eyes fixed on Santa. "You misunderstand, Claus. We have studied your holiday for centuries. Its purpose is clear, a system designed to enforce compliance through rewards and punishments. Naughty or nice, it is a binary construct to maintain order among the younglings of your species." Santa raised an eyebrow. "You got it all wrong. Christmas isn't about control. It's about joy, generosity, and hope. It's a time when people come together to celebrate love and kindness." Condor tilted his head, his expression unreadable. "A primitive justification for a flawed system. Your methods may be benevolent, but their effect is still a form of manipulation. We Xanthurians will liberate your planet from this falsehood." Spark, the elf communications officer, couldn't hold back any longer. "Liberate? You're ruining Christmas for billions of people. Do you even understand what you're doing?" Condor ignored her, instead gesturing to the drones. "Secure the workshop. Prepare to broadcast a message to Earth. We will show humanity the truth about their so-called holiday." As the drones moved to seize control of the workshop's central command, Santa leaned closer to Tinker and whispered, "We need a plan, and fast." Tinker nodded. "If we can get the auxiliary systems back online, I can rig a localized EMP to disable their drones. But it'll take time." Santa turned to the gathered elves. "Jingle, Spark, start gathering supplies and anything we can use to defend ourselves. We may not have fancy alien tech, but this workshop is built on ingenuity and teamwork." The elves scattered, their usual cheer replaced with steely determination. Meanwhile, Condor turned to Santa one last time. "You are an icon, Claus. Surrender peacefully, and we will preserve your legacy. Resist, and we will dismantle everything you stand for." Santa crossed his arms, his blue eyes twinkling with resolve. "You've got spirit, Condor, but you don't understand the heart of Christmas. And until you do, you'll never win." Condor studied him for a moment before turning and walking out of the hangar, his drones trailing behind him. As soon as the aliens were gone, Santa called the elves back. "Listen up, everyone. We're not just fighting for a holiday, we're fighting for what Christmas represents: hope, love, and unity. Condor may have fancy gadgets, but we have something he doesn't." Jingle tilted her head. "What's that, Santa?" "Heart," Santa said simply. "And if there's one thing I know, it's that heart always wins." In the background, the elves began reworking old toy prototypes into makeshift defenses. Tinker pulled out a blueprint for a modified sleigh engine that could be rigged for short bursts of flight. Rudolph and the other reindeer were given a special high-energy feed to boost their stamina. As Santa prepared to face the next phase of Condor's invasion, he couldn't help but smile. The North Pole had faced many challenges over the centuries, but this was something new, a chance to show that Christmas wasn't just about delivering presents. It was about resilience, creativity, and the unbreakable spirit of those who believed in magic. Chapter 3: The Sleigh Hijacking. The North Pole buzzed with urgency as the elves worked to restore what little functionality they could to the workshop. Sparks flew from makeshift repair stations as tools clanged and prototypes came to life. Outside, the Arctic winds howled, carrying with them the metallic hum of Condor's hovering ship. Santa stood at the entrance of the hangar, scanning the skies. His heart was heavy, but his resolve was unshaken. Inside the command center, Tinker adjusted his goggles and peered at the flickering screens. "Santa, we've got a problem," he said, his voice tight. "The sleigh's propulsion system is still fried, and I'm picking up interference from the aliens. I think they are trying to access our navigation systems." Santa's brow furrowed. If they get control of the sleigh, they could use it to spread their message across the globe. Tinker nodded grimly. "Exactly. They're not just taking over the workshop, they're taking Christmas itself." Before Santa could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. A low, vibrating hum grew louder, and the ceiling of the hangar was suddenly illuminated by a blinding green light. The elves froze as the alien ship descended, hovering just above the workshop. A loud, mechanical voice echoed through the air. "Santa Claus," Condor announced, "your time is over. We will now commandeer your vessel to show humanity the truth about their misguided traditions." Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the alien craft and enveloped the sleigh. The elves gasped as the sleigh began to rise, its runners lifting off the ground. The reindeer, still hitched to the sleigh, panicked and stamped their hooves. "Not on my watch," Santa muttered. He grabbed a grappling hook from a nearby table and launched it toward the sleigh. The hook latched onto the side, and with surprising agility for a man of his size, Santa hauled himself up onto the sleigh as it ascended. "Santa, wait!" Tinker shouted, but it was too late. Santa was already clambering into the driver's seat, gripping the reins tightly. "Hold steady, team," Santa urged the reindeer. "We're not letting them take us without a fight." The aliens, realizing Santa was resisting, deployed a swarm of small drones. The sleek, spherical machines zipped through the air, firing beams of light at the sleigh. Santa ducked as a beam narrowly missed him, singing the edge of his hat. "Looks like they want to play rough," Santa grumbled. He reached into the sleigh's toolbox and pulled out a sack of experimental candy canes Tinker had been working on. With a quick flick of his wrist, he hurled one at the nearest drone. The candy cane exploded in a burst of glittering red and white sparks, sending the drone spiraling out of control. "Let's see how you like a little Christmas spirit," Santa shouted, hurling another explosive candy cane at the swarm. Meanwhile, Tinker and the elves scrambled to come up with a plan from the ground. "We've got to jam their signal," Tinker said, furiously typing on a makeshift console. "If we can cut their connection to the sleigh, Santa might be able to get it back under control." Jingle and Spark worked alongside him, rigging together a transmitter from spare parts. "We're almost there," Jingle shouted. Above, the battle raged on. The reindeer strained against the pull of the alien beam, their glowing harnesses flickering as they fought to stay aloft. Santa threw another candy cane, taking out the last of the drones, but the alien beam was relentless. Suddenly, the sleigh lurched. The beam intensified, and Santa could feel the reins slipping from his gloved hands. "Come on, team," he urged the reindeer. "You've got this." Just as the sleigh seemed on the verge of being pulled into the alien craft, a loud crackle filled the air. The alien beam flickered and died, and the sleigh dropped back toward the workshop. Tinker's voice crackled through Santa's earpiece. "We did it, Santa." Their signals jammed. The sleigh landed with a heavy thud, skidding across the snow before coming to a stop. Santa climbed out, brushing himself off as the reindeer panted heavily. From the ship above, Condor's voice rang out, colder than ever. "You may have won this round, Claus, but your resistance is futile. We will return." The ship ascended, disappearing into the swirling clouds. Santa turned to Tinker and the other elves as they rushed to his side. "Good work, everyone," Santa said, clapping Tinker on the shoulder. "But this is far from over. Condor isn't going to give up, and neither are we. Christmas is counting on us." As the elves cheered and the reindeer steadied themselves, Santa looked toward the horizon, where the faint glow of the aurora was beginning to return. The battle had only just begun, but he was ready for whatever came next. Chapter 4. The Rebel Alliance. The winds howled across the frozen tundra as Santa's sleigh skimmed low over the Arctic wilderness. With the North Pole compromised, Santa had decided to retreat to a hidden location where his oldest allies resided. Tinker and Jingle sat in the back of the sleigh, tinkering with a portable radio transmitter salvaged from the workshop, while the reindeer pulled them forward with renewed energy. "Where are we going, Santa?" Jingle finally asked, breaking the tense silence. "To find help," Santa replied. His blue eyes scanned the endless expanse of snow and ice. "There are others out here who've defended the North for centuries. If anyone can help us, it's them." As the sleigh soared over a ridge, the landscape below transformed. Towering ice spires jutted out of the ground, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Deep within the labyrinth of ice caves lay the hidden village of the Arctic Yetis. The sleigh touched down gently at the entrance to the caves, and Santa climbed out. "Wait here," he told the elves, grabbing his staff. "This is a conversation I need to have alone." The icy tunnels shimmered as Santa ventured deeper, the cold biting even through his heavy coat. Finally, he reached a vast cavern where a group of Yetis stood waiting. They were massive creatures, their white fur blending seamlessly with their surroundings. The largest of them, an elder named Grumac, stepped forward. "Santa Claus," Grumac rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. "It has been many winters since you last visited. Why have you come?" Santa bowed respectfully. "Grumac, the North is under siege. Aliens have taken my workshop, and they aim to destroy Christmas. I need your strength to fight back." Grumac frowned, his fur bristling. "These invaders threaten the balance of our land." "They threaten more than that," Santa said. "They threaten hope, joy, and the unity Christmas brings to the world." Grumac looked back at his tribe, then turned to Santa. "The Yetis stand with you. We will protect the North as we always have." Santa smiled and shook Grumac's massive hand. "Thank you, old friend." As Santa and the Yetis prepared to leave, a deep growl echoed through the cavern. Emerging from the shadows was another of Santa's allies, Magnus, the leader of the ancient polar bears of the Ice Kingdom. Magnus towered over even the largest Yeti, his fur a silvery white that seemed to shimmer in the faint light. "I couldn't help but overhear," Magnus said, his voice like the grinding of glacier. "If these invaders threaten the North, then the polar bears will fight alongside the Yetis." Santa nodded. "Thank you, Magnus. Together, we can reclaim the workshop and stop Condor." Back at the sleigh, Tinker and Jingle were startled when Santa returned with an entourage of Yetis and polar bears. Santa?" Tinker asked, staring wide-eyed at the towering creatures. "Are they with us?" "They are," Santa said firmly. "And with their help, we'll take back what's ours." The group moved swiftly, heading toward a secluded clearing where they could strategize. Santa spread a map of the North Pole across the snow, marking the positions of the alien drones patrolling the area. "Condor's forces are concentrated around the workshop," Santa explained. "We need a diversion to draw their attention while the elves and I infiltrate the main building." Grumac nodded. "The Yetis can create a storm to disorient their senses." Magnus grinned, baring his sharp teeth. "And the polar bears will handle any ground forces they send to investigate." Tinker, crouching over his transmitter, chimed in. "If I can get close enough to their ship, I might be able to disable their communication systems. It'll buy us more time." Santa placed a hand on Tinker's shoulder. "Be careful, my boy. We can't afford to lose you." As the plan took shape, the group worked tirelessly to prepare. The Yetis gathered supplies for the storm, while the polar bears sharpened their claws on blocks of ice. The elves armed themselves with makeshift weapons crafted from toys and candy canes, their small faces set with determination. Night fell, and the time for action arrived. As the Yetis began to summon a fierce blizzard, Santa climbed into the sleigh, his eyes fixed on the distant lights of the workshop. "Remember," he said, addressing his allies, "we fight not just for Christmas, but for everything it represents." The Yetis howled into the storm, their voices carrying across the tundra, and the polar bears roared in response. Together, They moved toward the workshop, their resolve as unyielding as the ice beneath their feet. Santa's sleigh lifted off, cutting through the storm like a knife. As the wind howled and snow swirled around them, Santa tightened his grip on the reins. The battle for Christmas was about to begin, and he was ready to lead the charge. To be continued in Part 2.